to quit, and I realized that I need help. It took an arrest, a shattered Tier 1 career as a powerline technician, a severed relationship, and a 36-hour paranoid beyond belief bender for those words to finally come out of my mouth. By the evening of October 21st, 2022, the roller coaster of my bail release was peaking. I was so high, I was numb, and I was completely oblivious to what the next 2 years of the justice system would demand of me. We went out for dinner, making small talk and pretending like the world wasn't ending. The stimulants in my system and the numbness in my throat and gut made me sick, but my brain was still desperately trying to figure out how to sneak away to the strip club for one last hurrah. But I didn't get my final party. My mother had learned her lesson from the night before. She enforced a hard, non-negotiable domestic perimeter and demanded that I stay with her in the hotel room. I accepted my fate, but the moment the door closed, the entire house of cards came crashing down. My stash was cut off. The bender was over. So I went to the adjoining room to finally face the domestic fallout that I had been running from since I walked out of the courthouse the day before. I'd blown up my 7-year relationship. She had no idea the depth of my addictions, but she was willing to stand by me, only if I provided actionable evidence through change. As we sat there, my system started to violently crash. I was completely out of jet fuel, and I had been awake for over 36 hours at this point, with very little to eat. I remember the overwhelming fear of utter, paralyzing defeat. I knew sobriety was the only way that I could survive the impending legal proceedings. But more than that, I knew I was just fundamentally done. For the very first time in my life, I surrendered. I said out loud that I wanted to quit. Just a year prior, my partner had suggested that I go to AA, and I'd laughed in her face. That night, however, we made a plan for me to hit a meeting when I got back home with my mother the next day. Then, something absolutely extraordinary happened. My partner asked if she could pray over me. I had lost contact with any sort of a higher power that I had years ago, drowned out by drugs, alcohol, and ego. But I jumped at this opportunity. I laid on the bed and closed my eyes. She stood over me, put her hands over my body, and said, "God, I pray for you to break the chains of addiction Cole is wrapped up in." The second those words hit the air, a massive, deafening voice in the back of my head started absolutely screaming. It told me that this wouldn't work. It told me that I would never amount to anything, and it told me that I was a complete and utter loser. To this day, I don't know if that was the voice of active addiction whispering in my ear, or if that was the voice of the enemy on my shoulder trying to bring me down. Whatever it was, something inside my brain knew that its reign of terror was finally coming to an end. When she finished, the room went silent. The run was dead in the water. I went back to my bed, physically and emotionally shattered, and I finally closed my eyes. I accepted that when I woke up the next day, it would be day 1 of my sobriety. This is the raw reality of a post-release crash. A justice-impacted individual in active addiction will not surrender until their escape hatches are systematically closed by the people around them. The emotional breakthrough only happened because my mother enforced a rigid physical perimeter. If she hadn't locked down that room, I would have kept running and been into my stash all night. Your defense lawyer is a courtroom specialist. They litigate the criminal code. They cannot stand in a hotel doorway to enforce a boundary, and they cannot manage the behavioral collapse happening behind closed doors. That is exactly where we step in. At the Unpolished Path, we bridge the massive gap between the courthouse and your living room. We provide your family with the objective, peer-led accountability frameworks and the daily operational checklists that are required to stabilize your household when the system hits. If your family is navigating the immediate aftermath of a bail release, do not hope for a miracle. Secure your legal counsel for the statutory defense, then go to the unpolishedpath.ca to download our immediate post-release containment framework. Stop guessing and let's build your blueprint to survive the night today.